I'm Jim, and I'm so stoked. I have put a number of videos together, and I'm finally at the one that I've been wanting to do the most, which is a how-to video. Now, I'm by no means an expert. I'm self-taught, but I've scoured the internet as much as I can and found the tips and tricks that work for me, and then just what I tried on the mountain. And so I'm going to spend some time with this video showing you what works for me, maybe a little bit of what doesn't. I've been monoskiing for about 12 years. I was looking for a new challenge and went looking for an old board and found this one on Craigslist, not really knowing that there were still a number of companies out there that make new ones. There are, at my last count, about 12 companies that will still make monoskis, including Faction, which is the one I settled on for the 2021 ski season. So I'm super excited about it. I've had some great days on it already and can't look forward enough to getting out on it again. So why monoskiing? Why not two skis, or why not snowboarding? There's a few reasons. For one, for really adept skiers, it's a new challenge, and that's what first drew me to monoskiing. I'd skied for about 30 years and had snowboarded some, but wanted to try something new. As a teen in the 80s, the monoskiing I saw was in the Warren Miller films, and it looked really cool. And so when I was looking for something new, monoskiing was a bit of a throwback to my rowdy days of skiing in high school with my buddies Brandon and Brian and Chris. And though I never got the chance to monoski back then, it was just something I'd always wanted to try. I have nothing against skiing, and I have nothing against snowboarding, and but monoskiing really does combine some of the best advantages of both. The width of the monoski allows you to float through powder and through crud like a snowboard. You face downhill, so every other turn isn't blind like snowboarding. You have two poles to help you with your balance and also to get you across those flat sections and to stand up on the slopes. If you already ski, you have the boots and you're familiar with the bindings. I will admit, snowboarding has us beat on the boot comfort. Hands down, they've got us beat. But on the flip side, monoskiing doesn't require you to sit on the ground at the top of every lift, so you can clip into your bindings. So monoskiing can be for anyone, and more than likely a good skier will be able to pick it up in a day or even maybe just an afternoon, a couple days at most. It's a bit different and takes some getting used to, but a good skier will pick it up pretty quick. So here's a little bit before you start skiing. Things to keep in mind. One, always step into the uphill binding first, because as you'll see from this short clip here, if you step into the downhill, you just slide and it gets real awkward real quick.
The one thing you definitely want to not do is to try to put on your downhill ski first, because if you do, you're just going to slide down the hill and more than likely fall. So always put on your uphill ski first. And now I'm kind of stuck. Not easy.
In terms of moving across the flats, like say at the lift line, or if you're on a cat track trail trying to cross the mountain, either push with both poles, or, and that requires a lot of upper body strength, gets a little tiring. The other option is to step out of one binding and use that foot to kick, kind of like if you were on a kid's Razor scooter, and push. The one disadvantage to that is you drag a brake, which can feel a bit awkward, but I've actually tried that one over the weekend for the first time in a while, and it was a good way to go for crossing up to the lift lines. Some things to think about as you actually get started skiing on the hill. Monoskiing requires really skiing with your core. Really, it's from your stomach to your knees. It's a lot of hip movement. Your upper body should be generally pretty still. There's not a lot of resources on the web, as I've talked about, and some of it's conflicting. On a few sites, they suggest keeping your legs really straight. That doesn't tend to work for me, and so I think you really need to be bent at the knees and driving your knees forward into the tongue of your boots. Keep your chest pointed down the fall line. That may be the single most important thing to do. It makes it so much easier. But again, bend at the knees, drive into the tongue of the boot. And as obvious it might sound when both feet are attached to the same ski, keep your knees together. As you initiate a turn, really plant your pole. If you're turning left, then you're going to want to push down on the left side of the ski and pull up with the right. And in doing so, you'll be able to drive your right knee into your left, and that's really how you help carve through the corner. I'll try to demonstrate that here in the video and show you a bit. So if you're turning to the right, then you plant your right pole, push down with your right foot, up with your left, and drive through the corner. The whole motion requires moving your hips quite a bit. And for monoskiing, having a good rhythm really makes a difference. Once you get into that on the fall line and you're going, the rhythm will help. And then carry a little speed and keep heading down that fall line. So your poles they end up being pretty critical to monoskiing for a couple of reasons. One, just developing that rhythm as you're turning, really intentionally planting the pole to the right, to turn to the right and left. It's not something I'm great at, and the videos you'll see of me, I tend to get off. And so when I really think about it and plant and plant and plant, that's when I get my best turns in. You'll also see that sometimes I use my poles as a bit of outriggers, and I just kind of let them hang to the side. That's not the best technique, and that's also when I tend to get a little bit squirrely.
I'm gonna come with us. Right
Oh, okay.
You okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your poles will also, they're key to standing on a slope. Because if it's a steep slope and you're trying to stand sideways, you really got to have the poles for balance. And then, as I've talked about, moving across flats, the poles are key to that as well. So as I mentioned in my video about bindings, the recommendation I've heard from a ski industry rep is to actually run your din setting higher than you normally would on two skis. And this is because a release of a single boot while skiing puts all the weight of the large monoski on the single knee, and that is dangerous and could cause, ACL tears or other knee injuries. Running the din settings high, though, means that when the bindings do release, the boards tend to launch. There also seems to be a lot of torque applied to the bindings on monoskis, because it does seem like, from the articles I've read and the forums I've read, that monoskiers tend to break their bindings at a higher rate than your average skier. Knock on wood, that hasn't happened to me yet, and hopefully won't. So if I have to give you my 5 top tips, here they are. 1, a little speed helps. 2, keep your shoulders facing down the fall line with your hands in front of you. 3, plant your poles and turn around them. 4, lift that outside edge and drive your outside knee into the direction you are turning. And 5, smile, because A, it's a blast, and B, people are definitely watching. I hope this video helps, and I hope to see you on the slopes soon, and maybe even on a monoski. Thanks.